Shabbat Shalom, everyone. If you could take a seat, we are going to get our services started this evening.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom to all of you here in person. Shabbat Shalom to all of you on Facebook or on Zoom watching us. Shabbat Shalom to all of you that are watching us streaming on YouTube. We welcome all of you to our service tonight at Temple Akiba. And oh my gosh, how amazing it is to be here in person with all of you. I'm so excited. So hopefully you can see in Zoom land, everyone is cheering. But it is just so incredible to be back here, to see all of your faces, not just through a camera, but to see your whole person, your whole being here and join together in our services this evening. My name is Cantor Lonnie Freilich, and this is my first Shabbat service back in person with all of you. So it is amazing to be here. With me this evening is Mary Lou Basaraba, who is our choir director and my accompanist, and this is the first time we are joining together in over a year and a half as well. So what a pleasure it is to see you and hear you play, and thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure always.
What a year this has been. I had some incredible Shabbat experiences while we were in lockdown through COVID. Some new memories that I will cherish, memories with my family, being able to celebrate Shabbat with them in a way that I haven't been able to in many years. We started new traditions like making challah. We did that almost every week, and if you were with us on Zoom, you saw the product of that challah making every week. We would doctor it up with fun things like chocolate chips and sprinkles and all sorts of deliciousness. And we would do the blessings together, we would have a meal together, and I would be with all of you online, which was incredible. So what I wanted to know from everyone here, and for those of you that are with us on Zoom, what is your favorite way to celebrate Shabbat? So I am so grateful to be here with you. This is one of my favorite ways to celebrate Shabbat. I have both. I love being here with all of you and being with you in person, being able to sing with you and engage in prayer with you. And I also love being with my family and making the challahs and enjoying their company and their presence and doing the special blessings with them. So what I'd love to know, if you're on Zoom, if you could write that in the chat box. If you're on YouTube, I am not connected to that, but maybe I can get it at a later time. And how do you love to celebrate Shabbat? What do you do? What do you love to do?
In person with love of people in a synagogue.
So Herman is saying he loves to celebrate Shabbat in person with people. Anyone else that's in person? Carol.
There's no substitute for hugging.
Carol is saying there's no substitute for hugging. I love that. That's beautiful. I'm going to check the chat box too, and let's see if we have any. Let's see. Okay, so if anyone has anything, we don't have anything online, but if anyone wants to share how they love to celebrate Shabbat, let's put it in and so I can read it. Elizabeth.
Singing together, even if it's out of tune. To hear just me in the wind.
So Elizabeth is saying she loves to celebrate Shabbat by singing together, by hearing voices, joining together in song, even in prayer, even if it's off tune. Anyone else here? Yeah, David.
Yeah, I think I love the blessing over the challah, the end where everybody touches somebody, they're touching the challah. That's sort of it's amazing. And I really miss it because you can reach out to the screen, but it's not the same.
So David is saying that he really loves the ritual of the challah at the very end where we touch someone who's touching the challah or we're touching the challah, and how much he misses that ritual, not being able to do that during COVID times. Diana.
I love lighting the candles, even at home. We used to do it at home, and then we watch lighting the candles. And I like it. Brings us into a holy space. So I love the lighting.
Beautiful. Diana is saying that she loves the ritual of lighting the candles, of doing that at home or watching it here or watching it online, and that it brings you to a holy space and a holy time. Wonderful. And we have Eileen and Jim said sharing the day with others, enjoying the prayers and the music together. Thank you to Eileen and Jim for that. Well, we are going to get our service started with the singing of Bowie Kala. This is from the Lachado D prayer, and this is a prayer that welcomes in the Sabbath bride. Bowie Kala, Bowie Kala, Bowie Kala, Bowie Kala. Bowie Kala, Bowie Kala, Bowie Kala, Bowie Kala. As we welcomed in the Sabbath bride, we welcome in Shabbat with the lighting of our Shabbat candles. I'm honored to invite up to the Bima Sarah Fields, who will be lighting our candles for us.
It's not as windy as it was last week.
And we are on page 2 for the lighting of our Shabbat candles. Sarah, would you like a purple?
I think I know it, but there's always pressure.
And we have the microphone right next to you. Yes.
Let's start off.
Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu Tzivanu, Lecha Lifner, Lecha Lifner, Shel Shabbat.
Thank you so much. And I invite up to the Bima Herman Barnathan, who will be leading us in the Kiddush. We are on page 5 and invite all who are able to please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'ratzot Infilanu, Zikaron Lamaseh Bereshit, Kihu Yom Tehillah Lemegraye Kodesh, Zecher L'Tzion Mitzrayim, Kivanu V'chata, Ve'otanu Kidashta, Mikoli, B'Shabbat Kodshcha, Be'ahava u'vratzon, Ikaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat.
L'chaim. Thank you so much, Herman. Please feel free to have a seat. And I once again invite up Sarah Fields, who is our Director of Engagement and representative of our board at Temple Akiba, to officially welcome everyone and tell us what's happening at Temple Akiba.
Okay, I think, is this okay with the mic?
Yeah.
Okay, Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and
Shabbat
welcome.
Shalom.
I'd like to welcome you on behalf of the Board of Directors of Temple. Is there anyone who's here for the first time? I see a few for the second time. Okay, welcome. Glad you're back. And I want to thank Herman for leading us in the Kiddush, beautiful as always. And Sisterhood will be hosting an opening tonight, so please stay for that. It will be in the foyer, coffee, water, cookies. There's a couple of things coming up. Oh, I want to thank Mary Lou also for the music. And Randy Murphy will be doing the Hatzi Kaddish a little later, so we are going to have some wonderful music tonight. And of course, we want to welcome Cantor back after her well-deserved vacation. It's lovely to hear that beautiful soprano voice ringing out, isn't it? There are a few things going on at the temple. We do want to remind you about membership. If you haven't sent your membership packet in, please do so that we can plan and know that you're going to be continuing with your membership. And the Tikkun Olam Committee has something coming up that I want to mention. It was in the news. We have been doing monthly collections of various things for nonprofits, mostly helping people who are experiencing homelessness. And we have a wonderful collection for July. There is an organization called Imagine LA. It's a nonprofit that works to help families get out of homelessness. And they are opening a 73-unit apartment building on the west side called Missouri Place later this summer. And they have asked for welcome gifts for the families, board games, puzzles, art supplies, anything families would enjoy doing with their children. So we'll have a donation box here, and we're going to have a collection in front of the temple next week, Tuesday and Wednesday, between 10 and 12. We'll have some volunteers here, so you can just drive up and drop off your items. You know, things that you can get at Target, even the dollar store. So we'd really appreciate your help with that. Okay, thanks so very much, everyone. And it's good to see you all here.
Thank you so much, Sarah. We continue our service with the singing of Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai, Shir Chadash, sing a new song unto God.
Shirul Adonai, Kol Haaretz. Shirul Adonai, Shir Chadash. Shirul Adonai, Kol Haaretz. Shirul Adonai, Shir Chadash. Sing unto God on the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shirul Adonai, Kol Haaretz. Shirul Adonai, Shir Chadash. Shirul Adonai, Shirul Adonai, Kol Haaretz. Shirul Adonai, Shir Chadash. Sing unto God, all the earth, a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shirul Adonai, Kol Haaretz. Shirul Adonai, Shir Chadash. Shirul Adonai, Kol Haaretz. Shirul Adonai, Shir Chadash. I will sing unto God a new song. We invite Randy Murphy to lead us in the Chatzi Kaddish, and we are on page 26. The Chatzi Kaddish is a prayer that signifies that we are ending one section of our service, so we are completing our opening prayers, and it is a prayer that is telling us that we are now moving into another section of our service, which is the Shema and her or its blessings. So Randy, page 26.
Yitkadash Meraba. El Madi Brachirute, Vianrik Warhute, Vechaye Koru, Yonekon, Uchaye Kobe Israel, Bagala, Uizman Kari, Uimaru, Amen. Yehesh Meraba Medora, Me'ala Mudar Me'amaya, Yitmara, Yitshabat, Yitar, Yitromam, Yitnase, Yithatar, Yitale, Yitalal, Yitalal, Shemed Kudushat, Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, Tushevata v'nechamata, Amirat be'ama, v'imaru, Amen.
Thank you so much for that beautiful rendition, Randy. And we ask for all who are able to please rise for the Baruch Hu, which is our first formal worship prayer.
We remain standing, but I just wanted to share how beautiful it is to hear the harmonies that are happening. I haven't heard harmonies in like a year and a half, so this is so incredible.
I've been
To
doing
hear-
it, but you couldn't hear me.
I can hear you now. So we have members of our choir here and they are harmonizing to almost everything, and oh, it is just touching my soul. Thank you so much for that. What a gift. We continue our service with the singing of the Shema. And the Shema is one of our oldest and most important prayers. Jews have been saying this prayer for thousands of years. We're actually able to link the recitation of the Shema all the way back to the first temple period, which was from 928 to 586 BCE. In the days when the temple stood in Jerusalem, the Shema was recited by the priests during the daily prayers. And after the temple was destroyed and services were moved to synagogues, the rabbis included the Shema in the morning and the evening services. The Shema was meant to warn Jews against worshiping other gods and to remind them to remain loyal to one God. In this day and age, we are pulled in so many different directions. So the question begs, what or who should receive our highest human loyalty? Our tradition teaches that we as Jews owe our highest allegiance to God. And we sing the Shema together as a community. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Please be seated. So if the Shema teaches us that we owe our highest human allegiance to God, the next question most of us will ask is, how do we go about expressing our allegiance and loyalty to God? And the Ve'ahavta is our next prayer, and that teaches us that it is not enough to simply recognize that there is one God who created heaven and earth, but we must love God and express our loyalty with specific actions. Some of these actions including loving God with our hearts, with our might, teaching our children, physically reminding ourselves by inscribing it on noticeable places. So we continue with the singing of the Ve'ahavta, which is on page 36. I ask for all of you to join with me. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levacha ubechol nafshecha ubechol me'odecha ve'hayu ad marim ha'eleh asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibartam v'shivtecha v'beitecha u'v'lechtecha v'derech u'shofbecha u'bekunecha Ushartam le'ot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafo keinecha, uvtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha, leman tizkeru, asitem et kol mitzvotai, v'tem kedoshim le'lohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Asher hoseti atem me'eretz Mitzrayim, lihiot lachem Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem emet. We turn to page 41 and read together. We haven't been able to do this in a long time too, so this is such a treat. Page 41 together. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect. The song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. We continue with the singing of the Micha Mocha, which is found on page 40. Micha Mocha, Elim Adonai. Micha Mocha, Nedar Kodesh, Orat Tehilot, Sefer Leh, Orat Tehilot, Sefer Leh. We continue with the singing of Yismechu, our prayer that celebrates the joy of Shabbat, and we're on page 44. Yismechu, the Malachut Chal strikes and her fingers, Shomrei Shabbat, Victorione. Yismechu, the Malachut Chal, Shomrei Shabbat, Victorione. Yismechu, the Malachut Chal, Shomrei Shabbat, Victorione. Shomrei Shabbat, Victorione, Shomrei Shabbat, Victorione. In Orthodox public worship, the Amidah, one of the central prayers in Jewish liturgy, is usually first prayed silently by the congregation, and then it's repeated out loud by the cantor. And the repetition's original purpose was to give illiterate members of the congregation a chance to participate in the collective prayer by answering Amen. It is our custom at Temple Akiba to chant the first 3 blessings of the Amidah. The first blessing, the Avot, praises God as the God of history, the God who remembers the good deeds of our patriarchs and our matriarchs. The second blessing, the Giverot, praises God as the God of nature, the God that gives life to all. And the third blessing, the Kedusha, praises God as the God of holiness. We ask for all who are able to please rise. We are on page 46 for the Amidah. Adonai sefatai titach ufiach itehiratecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu. Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, Ve'koneh Hakol. וזוכר חסדי האבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומנהיג. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, Mechayeh HaKol Atam, Rav Lehoshia, Morin HaTal. We're on page 50, so you can follow along. Mechakel Chayim Mechesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Berofei Holim, Umatir Asurim. Umekayem emunato l'shenei afar michamocha ba'gefurot umidon melech melech menit umechayeh umatzliach Yeshua v'ne'eman atah l'hachayot. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh Aaron. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. We take the next few minutes for silent reflection. You can either use the pages of the book in front of you if you are here in person, or use this time to reflect on what we talked about before, on the beauty of Shabbat, on what you love, how you love to celebrate Shabbat. you're finished with your silent reflection, feel free to have a seat. It is so incredible to be here together, to share in a community that is both in person and online. What a journey we have all been on. A difficult year with a virus that our world continues to struggle with. I'm so grateful, however, that these struggles have brought us a new way to pray and join together as a community. When we could not be together, we had to find ways to continue our worship in a new format, creating services, classes, and school online. We recognize how important this medium is, and we will continue, and it will continue to be, even as the world continues to open up. I love seeing the faces of all of those sitting in front of me, and I'm so grateful to see the faces of those on our Zoom. And for those who are on YouTube, I can't see your faces, but you are so warmly welcomed into this community, and we are so glad that all of you are here with us tonight. Our ancestors had their share of living through difficult times. Tomorrow evening begins Tisha B'Av, the 9th of the month of Av. During this time, we commemorate a number of ancient tragedies that befell our ancestors. In the days leading up to Tisha B'Av, it is a time of remembrance and mourning. It is a time that we are to reduce the amount of happiness and celebration in our lives. It's a time for our people to hold off on our celebrations, to not shave, to not listen to music, to not eat meat, drink wine, or for some to not even bathe. And on the 9th day of Av, it is a time for our people to fast. In the Mishnah, it says, Misha nichnas Av b'ma'atin b'simcha. From the time that Av enters, we reduce in joy. At the heart of this day is the mourning for the destruction of the temple, of both temples in Jerusalem from 586 BCE and 70 CE by the Babylonians and the Romans. However, for most liberal Jews, Tisha B'Av has faded in importance as a ritual observance, as the rebuilding of a central temple in Jerusalem has lost its priority and significance in modern times. Over the centuries, other tragic events have come to be commemorated on this day, including the brutal massacres of the Crusades, the Jewish expulsion from Spain, and the Holocaust. Tisha B'Av, therefore, has become a symbol of Jewish suffering and loss. During this time, we're instructed to read from the book of Eicha, or Lamentations, which was composed in the midst of the destruction of Jerusalem in 586 BCE. When we celebrate the holiday of Passover, we're not just remembering that our ancestors were slaves in Egypt, we are physically reenacting their slavery and freedom throughout our Seder. And Rabbi Norman Lamb believes that Tisha B'Av should be observed in a similar manner to Passover. He wrote that Tisha B'Av does not mean remembering, it means reliving. That in every generation, every Jew must feel as if he himself lived in Jerusalem as it was being destroyed, as if he himself was one of the faithful onlookers who wept endless tears as they watched the Beit HaMikdash go up in flames. Every Jew must feel as if he personally were uprooted and sent off as an exile to some strange country far from home. This year, we were not uprooted from our homes. It was quite the opposite. We were rooted to our homes, but uprooted from our regular lives. Our lives drastically changed because of the COVID virus. The routines that we were used to were upended for the last 18 months. Our ancestors were forced out of their homes, out of their temple, and exiled to a new land. They had to find a way to continue living, to continue praying, to continue finding a way to bring meaning into their lives, even amidst the worst of circumstances. And though we remained in our homes, we too had to find a way to continue living, to continue praying, to continue finding a way to bring meaning into our lives in the midst of a global pandemic. We figured out a way to do that, and so did our ancestors. The destruction of our holy temples was a tragedy. But some would argue that its destruction was ultimately a blessing for the future of Judaism. The destruction of the temples completely changed the model of our religious life, and I believe for the better. Our ancestors had to ensure the survival of their religion, to find a new way to connect, and so Judaism had to change. The temple represented a model that stressed the importance of a particular location. The temple was the center of Jewish life. This was where our people gathered to give their thanks to God, and this was their central location of worship. This is where people would pilgrimage from all over Israel to offer their sacrifices. And this was also a model that did not allow the average person to have a holistic relationship with God. Our ancestors would bring the finest of their crop or animals and offer it to the priest, and the priest would sacrifice it on the animals on their behalf. The destruction of the temple and the exile of the Jewish people forced our ancestors to create a new paradigm of Judaism. Our people no longer had a place to bring their sacrifices, and so a new form of worship had to be created. Instead of offering korbanot, the sacrifices, they began to offer prayers. And in this new paradigm, the rabbis taught that we could become closer to God, each and every one of us, with the words of our mouths rather than with physical sacrifices. A connection to our sacrificial worship still remains to this day, though. The rabbis based the Jewish evening, morning, and afternoon prayer services on the ancient rituals for offering korbanot. I believe our religion is alive today because of the ability of our people to adapt to circumstances. We adapted to a new form of Judaism with the destruction of our temples, and we adapted to a new format of worship with the COVID pandemic. When Tisha B'Av begins tomorrow, I will use this time to mourn the suffering of our people, to mourn the pain that they endured and the destruction of their temples, their priests, their worship, their homes, and their lives. But I will also use this as a time to reflect on the ability of our people to be versatile, to pivot when needed, to change and to adapt and to ensure the survival of our people and our religion and ensure that it will continue. I pray that our religion and people continue to thrive, that we can continue to adapt and change with our circumstances and continue to create a vibrant Jewish community, no matter where we find ourselves. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may that be God's will. I wanted to share a song. It's called Al Naharot Babel, or By the Waters. And this comes from Psalm 137, and it's a communal lament about being in exile after the Babylonian captivity and yearning for Jerusalem. In the psalm, the Israelites mourn their exile from Jerusalem, weep over the memory of their lost homeland, and yearn for the hope to return to Israel. We remember those at this time who are in need of healing as well. We are at an important part of our service, the Misha Berach, our prayer for healing. We're on page 253. And this is our time to think of those that are in need of healing, whether spiritually, physically, emotionally. And this is our prayer to support those people that are in need, as well as the caretakers of the people that are going through their difficult times in life. So we're going to begin with the first verse of the Misha Berach, and then in between the first and the second verses, I will offer an opportunity for all of those here to say the names of people that are in need of healing out loud. For all of those who are online, to please put in the chat box the names of those who you are thinking of. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen.
He finds that riches and all that damn day. Bless those in need of healing, with fruitful wash and Rhema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We continue our service with the beginning of our concluding prayers, the Alenu. We ask for all who are able to please rise and face east, which is, I believe, that way. Hope I got that right. Wonderful. And we are on page 282. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula le'osei breshit, shelo asanu b'gei ha'arazot, elo asanu kemishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, le'kol Aleinu. A reading in preparation for our Mourner's Kaddish, the Kaddish Tome, the bottom of page 291. There are stars up above, so far away, we only see their light, long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. We remember with love those whose yard sites are this evening, the memory of those who have passed away in years past during this time. We actually have two lists to read tonight. I heard that last week there was no Kaddish list, and so I'm going to be reading the list from last week as well as this week. We begin with those who are in Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning. That includes Esther Nell Tabak and Elizabeth Achor. Is there anyone else who is in Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning? Okay, brother, I'm so sorry. We add to those names the list of the yard sites that are located in the Sue and Jerry Erfurt Memorial Room. That includes Esther Bashine, Darlene Bilkis, Eleanor Bimstein, Lillian Brown, Eric Fagan, Sam Freeman, Rose Geller, James Gordon, Harry Halberstadt, Jacob Hecht, Robert Canterman, Sabina Opperman, Joyce Rainier, Fred Rothman, Cecilia Rothman, Morris Samuels, Marion Schnur, Rebecca Spector. That is our list from last week, and this week is Irving Aronson, Richard Alexander, Newton Andron, Solomon Berman, Darlene Bilkis, Melvin Hanberg, Bert Paul Kuhn, Francis Lewin, and Rose Samau. And we include the following names added to those lists: Miriam Baruch, Sheldon Burson, Eleanor Castleman, Samuel Kleiman, Dorothy Diamond, Ida Fine, Dorothy Fleischman, Pearl Gordon, Faye Gordon, Ellen Graff, Arnold J. Helprin, Scott Hart, Chaim Lackman, Florence Mann, Frida McVeigh, Marion Molnar, Judith Namias, Walter Nathan, Doris Pastor, Stella Paver, Dr. Sidney Rosen, Saul Rudick, Jay Schwartz, Marjorie Servin, Khalum Sarfati, Rhoda Scheinman, Selma Snyder, Phyllis Winograd, Bernard Zupor. That was last week's list. And we include the following names: Sally Beckus, Faye Bloom, Clara Bogash, Manya Bubar, Esther Bubis, Tyler Edson, Harry Gorman, Esther Gresham, Max Himmel, Rose Katz, Ida Kraus, Charles Kraus, Herbert Lees, Daniel Marcus, Karen Pelletier, Pearl Puritz, Hessie Reinhardt, Sally Silverman, Abe Swerdlow, Edward Sylvan, and Harry Wagner. Is there anyone else in the community, whether online or here in person, that is remembering a yard site at this time?
My cousin Earl Ostroff.
Earl Ostroff. For those of you online, feel free to put those names in the chat box. We rise as a community to recite the Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish, found on page 294, and Carol has screen shared our Kaddish for those at home as well. We join together. Yigadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma dibrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, ve'chayachon v'yonechon, uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agalah yizman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei amaya. Yitbarach ve'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shemei tukudashah b'richu. Le'olam yimchol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran ve'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'romav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and together we say, Amen. I wanted to give a special thank you to those who participated in our service. A thank you to Mary Lou Basaraba for your beautiful piano accompaniment tonight. Thank you so much for being with us. It was so incredible to be with you once again and sharing music with you. Thank you to all of you for being here tonight. And of course, a big thank you to Carol Diamond, our Zoom master extraordinaire. You can't see it where you are, but she always does the most amazing job for those of us that are online. So thank you as always for the incredible work that you do. And we are going to conclude with Oseh Shalom. I'm going to ask for you to put your prayer books down so we can join. There's some hand movements for this, so hopefully you can join in with us for our hand movements. Oseh Shalom, B'romav. Oseh Shalom, B'romav. Hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh shalom. Hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh shalom. Hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh shalom. Amen. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. Oseh Shalom, B'romav. Oseh Shalom, B'romav. Hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh shalom. Hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh shalom. Hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh, hu ya'aseh shalom. Amen. May the one makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. Shalom, everyone. Before we conclude our service, we are going to do our hamotzi. And let me grab the challah and I'll come back. Oh, our Sarah's gonna get it. Thank you so much. And so we pretend to touch the challah and touch everyone who's touching the challah. If you're at home, we ask you to put your hand out to the screen so that you can pretend that you're touching the challah as well. And we join together. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices join in happy chorus as our prayer is humbly said. Baruch atah Adonai